What's up, everybody? Hey, welcome to another fun-filled episode of OmniBros Live. I am your host tonight, Gabe. I love 90s comics. Also, here is my boy Lou, Comics Guide 101. We'll be hanging out today. Jess isn't here today. I think he's avoiding the Epstein flight log list. So much love to him. Hopefully he'll come out of hiding soon. It's just Jess is taking a night off.
Yeah, he's
because of flight logs.
He's taking a well-deserved break. But we are here, and we will be providing you entertainment tonight. Gabe, we were talking just a few minutes ago backstage about kind of old retail jobs that we had and stuff like that, and kind of the policies that we used to have. I don't know how it was for you, but I was always taught when I worked retail that if somebody tries to steal something, once they leave the door, it's done. Don't even try to chase them. If it's
that's always a policy I've heard of. But I don't know if I told you guys. I'm sure I told you guys this story, right? When I was at Torpedo and somebody ran out of the store with a stack of comics.
I haven't heard this.
Okay, so this guy came in the store, was walking around the store, looking at stuff, building up a little bit of a stack and stuff like that. Acted like he was coming up to the counter with that stack and exit stage left out through the door. And I chased him. I ran after him, right? I ran after him back up and around the building, like the sidewalk back up and around the building. And I caught up to him.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out a syringe.
Are you for real?
He pulled out a syringe and he goes, hey, I have HIV. I go, all right, man, cool. See you later. Do what you got to do.
You're like, it's not worth it. The comics.
Don't worry, bro. Nope.
Man, that's fucking wild.
Yeah. I wish I would have caught him before he pulled out that syringe. I would have beat the shit out of him, I bet.
Oh my God. But I mean, he was probably bullshitting, but at the same time, you don't want to take that risk because people are fucking nuts these days. So
yeah, dude, I'm not risking whatever being stuck by this guy's, heroin needle over a stack of, Silver Age action comics.
Nah, man. Speaking of comics, where can we get some of the best comics online right now?
Well, the best place you can go online to get all your omnibuses, trade paperbacks, collected editions, hardcovers, mangas, all that fun stuff. There's one spot that you have to go to. You haven't been there yet, or if you haven't been there in a while, or whatever the case might be, you always need to check out InStockTrades.com. That's right. I'm trying to pull up the page like Gio does. InStockTrades.com, where if you join us on Mondays, you'll know all the great new books that are coming out for the week. New books drop on InStock Trades on Tuesday. You can get up to 42% off. A lot of times a lot higher than that. They do have those red tag sales that are like 80% off, things like that. Best packaging, free shipping on orders of $50 or more will get you free shipping in the United States. Amazing packaging, awesome customer service. InStockTrades.com, where they also, for this show, it only happens here on this show, where the last Monday show, we give away a $50 gift card to InStock Trades for free. All you gotta do is just hang out with us, subscribe to the channel, hang out on Monday. We do a random name generator, and you could be the lucky winner. So make sure you join us on Mondays, and always check out InStockTrades.com. A lot of cool stuff here. We were talking about this is some of the stuff that came out this week.
Yep.
Madam Web, we were talking about that. That thing is $5. That's 46% off. Here's all the new releases from this week. A lot of people were talking about this Barnstormers in the chat. That's 36% off. Get that for $16. Devil's Reign, Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, $62. That's 38% off. This is one of the only events I've heard of recently that is getting like great hype across the board. Like it sticks the landing and everything. Apparently, so.
Is this his end? Is this the end of the run?
That's the end of the run. Yeah.
Okay.
At least I believe so. But yeah, all kinds of great stuff on in stock trades, manga, where the body was. Savage Dragon is only $23. That's awesome.
They still have that Daredevil Samney Omnibus. Wow, they have a lot of good gems right now on sale, man.
Fear Agent still up there. Don't sleep on Fear Agent, people. It's 42% off.
And those covers are beautiful. I love that dual frame cover of the young Heath and the old Heath. Oh my god! And if you know the context of the story, it's so good.
So in stock trades, everybody, check them out. Free shipping, awesome packaging. I save that packaging. I always use it for later if I'm going to sell something or ship something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got a few questions already in the chat. Labruski asks, this is a popular one. Can you read Fantastic Four by Hickman as a standalone? Yes. But if you know the history, you'll enjoy it that much more. But if you just want to jump into it, I think you're perfectly fine to do so.
Yeah, and if you want, you can. But I'll piggyback on that and say that you might also want to check out Mark Miller's Fantastic Four.
Okay.
There's some stuff that only if you want like the full context of things, because they really get into like Counter Earth in Hickman's run, and that all started up in Mark Miller's run.
Was he co-writing with Hickman? Was that the run he? What am I thinking about that Hickman co-wrote for a while?
Are you thinking of when Bendis and him were co-writing Secret Warriors?
I think that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking about. So yeah, I would say go ahead and pick it up, but like Gabe said, grab the ultimate version of Fantastic Four. That's where you'll also get the creator, or the creator. I'm running like on 2 hours of sleep, so you got to help me here tonight.
Oh man, I've been running errands all day long, dude. I've been in just errand mode all day.
Yeah, which is an alternate version of Reed Richards, who turns out to be a huge jerk. But he ends up playing a much larger role later on, especially now with the Ultimate Universe that they're building. I have the new Ultimate issues, the Spider-Man one, and I have not had a chance to read it. I'm dying to read it.
Yeah, I got that on a pull list. What's up, buddy? What do you want? Show me. Wait, let me see. Hey, can you type? Tell me what's up.
Yes. Thank you, NFL dude, the maker.
Downstairs? Daddy will go downstairs in a little bit. Okay, bud? Go hang up. I love you much. Close my door, please. Gentle. There you go.
But yeah, the maker, he plays a much larger role, especially as you go through the series. He keeps popping in and out of a whole bunch of stuff that Hickman's doing, but Donny Cates used him. He's in the Ultimate Universe now, so he's a very continuous presence, and it's kind of crazy to think he spun out of that Ultimate Fantastic Four issue, the Ultimate Fantastic Four series, which I don't think the series, if I remember right, set the world on fire when it first came out, right?
It did pretty good for a while, because then Warren Ellis did like the second arc, and that's when it exploded.
Yeah.
But then after that, it kind of floundered around a little bit and stuff like that.
That was kind of the thing with the Ultimate Universe in general, though, right? Except for Spider-Man. They all started really good, and then they floundered a little bit.
Well, a little bit. What it really, really came down to, from my understanding and the way I saw it, is Ultimate Universe is made as like, here's a new jumping on point. You don't have to worry about 60 years of continuity or whatever it was. No continuity here. It's all fresh until it wasn't. And then then of course, after running for a few years, you got to start, mixing in the continuity, and continuity got kind of weird. And yeah, it just, after a while, I think it just kind of just floundered around towards the end. It kind of just died with a whimper. Javier, hey guys, I became a fan of this channel with the manga shows, but have been watching the comic shows too. Want to know how y'all got into comic books. So I remember I was always into like superheroes from like a little kid. Mm-hmm. There is a little kid's book when I was a kid that was called Spider-Man and the Circus of Terror, Circus of Trouble, something like that, where it was all about just Spider-Man going to like a circus and having to take care of trouble going on there. That was my first introduction into anything superhero-y, was that Spider-Man book. And as I grew up and things like that, it was just more and more cartoons, more and more like TV shows, until the first comic book I ever got was a Ninja Turtles #1 from a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, I was really big into Ninja Turtles, really big into the toys, really big into the cartoon, everything like that. So that comic book is not like the TV show, is not like the toys, it's not like the video games. It's extremely violent and gruesome and gritty. And that just kind of set me down a path of comic books at that point.
Yeah, for me it was kind of a way for me to cope with my parents splitting up and getting divorced. It was a really tough time. So my mom took my brother and I to therapy, and as I've told this story before, as part of the deal is she would take us to the comic shop after, because my brother and I didn't want to go. We're like, I was probably like 11, 10.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to fucking talk to some stranger about my parents' divorce, which I was fucking happy my parents were getting divorced. That one of the happiest days of my life was like when my mom came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm divorcing your dad." I went out into the backyard and I was ecstatic. I was doing cartwheels. And I'm pretty sure my mom was like, "He's taking it really hard, isn't he?" So she would take my brother and I to the comic shop, and she let us pick out one or two things. And one of the first things that I grabbed, because I just gravitated to that cover, and I still have it at my parents' house, is Spider-Man 2099 #1. Because you're 10 years old, it's got the metallic cover, that badass Spider-Man suit. You're like, fuck yes, man.
Yeah, dude.
So I grabbed that issue, and I remember getting it dirt cheap. I think I got it for like $6 at the time or something like that. It's probably not worth much more now, but still. And I loved it. And that was the thing. Every time we went to therapy, my mom would go, "Okay, well, we're going to stop at the comic shop." And I'd try to find back issues of that Spider-Man 2099 comic. And I ended up getting 2, 3, 6, 7. And then that's kind of when that whole thing stopped for a while. I took a pause from comics after that. And it was my buddy, who I still remember very fondly. I haven't spoken to him in a while, Armando. He's like, "Hey man, you need to read this thing called Walking Dead." And this was when Walking Dead was still popping off. This was probably somewhere when it was in the 70s, issue 70 something at that point. I was like, "Oh shit, what's Walking Dead?" We go to our local comic shop, Coliseum Comics in Orlando. And he shows me the first volume of Walking Dead, and I go, "It's in black and white." And he goes, "Shut the fuck up. You're going to like Walking Dead." Okay. So I ended up picking up the first trade of Walking Dead. I read it, and I go, "Holy shit, this is really good." And he ends up giving me he may or may not have given me a flash drive of every issue of Walking Dead that was up to date at that point.
Yeah.
And that was it, man. I fell in love with the stuff after that.
Yeah, I remember falling into like Ultraverse comics at a young age. I used to spend that at my friend's house a lot. And he was the kind of guy that didn't wake up until like 10 o'clock. And I always woke up like at 6. So for like hours, I had nothing to do because my friend wasn't up. So I just kind of read his comic books and played video games until he would wake up and we would do stuff, And that's how I found Ultraverse stuff. I remember reading Prime and things like that. But man, I remember those therapy sessions for divorces. I remember that.
Fucking sucked. I didn't want to be there. I'm 10 years old, and I was actually happy my parents were getting divorced.
I mean, I just remember them just questioning everything. Like, they would have me draw, and so I would draw like Ninja Turtles, and they'd be like, "How come they got weapons?" And I'm like,
knowing what you know now, you would have probably fucked with them a little bit more. Like, "Oh yeah, I'm planning to use these in school one day."
I'm like, these weapons are perfect for killing my sister. I'm learning how to make that happen. They teach me that in the show. But yeah, that's just how it was back then. I remember.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're a little bit older than me, but we're not that far apart. Where, that was kind of I think it was like a court mandated thing for my mom. I wasn't even entirely sure. I think they just wanted to make sure.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure we were doing well, we were processing it well, and I was just finally, God, I've been waiting years for this divorce to come. So my life would have been a fucking nightmare if my father was still in the picture.
Did you see the Madam Web suit?
No, I haven't seen that yet. I haven't. The whole Madam Web thing, I've, yeah.
Dude, there's no way I'm gonna care about this movie at all.
If it's not animated, I don't care about the Sony stuff right now.
So there it is. I don't know how well you can see it.
All right, I guess. I don't. You know, I keep forgetting we're getting a Kraven movie later this year too.
Dude, there's gonna be, man, like Sony movies are gonna be like the new DC films. You're like, oh, this stuff is shit.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm saying that without seeing it in the movies, but I'm allowed to say whatever. We're allowed to say whatever we want to say about something. So, Kraven looks like ass. Madam Web looks like ass. Hey, babe. What else they got coming out? Kraven, Madam Web. They're doing a Venom 3, and I didn't care about one. Was whatever. I didn't even see 2. I didn't even see 2 yet. So I'm not very interested in 3.
That's not good. Carnage should not be PG-13. Period. You fucked up right from the beginning. There's no way a character like Carnage should even be close to PG-13. If you want to do it right, Carnage needs to be rated R.
Oh, it has to be like it should have been like a horror film.
Absolutely.
It should have been gnarly as all hell. It should have been like crazy, but I heard it was whatever. It was like 90 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't that
good. Hickman's Avengers is awesome, dude. Jump into that too. But I would say after Fantastic Four, because that Hickman Avengers is basically like the end of his Fantastic Four run.
Yeah. He builds on a lot of what you read in the Fantastic Four stuff. Which there was a period of time where everything that Hickman was writing was pretty much building on top of itself, up until about the Hoxpox stuff, which is the House of X, the Powers of 10 stuff. And then after that, it was like, okay, he got his X-Men run, and that was kind of a fresh start. But everything prior to that, there's almost a cadence and almost an order that a lot of longtime fans will go, well, you can jump into the Avengers stuff and you'll be perfectly fine, but it does build up from certain things from his Fantastic Four. And it's kind of the same thing with the Fantastic Four. You can jump into the Fantastic Four stuff, but it kind of builds up from the Fantastic Four Ultimate Universe stuff and from the Secret Warriors, yeah.
Secret Warriors with the shield stuff he was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all, but the thing is, it's all really good stuff. So you're going to be reading a lot, but it's all a lot of really great comics.
Elon also says that The Walking Dead was the gateway for him getting back into comics as an adult.
It was the only series I read until it ended. Then I had to find something else. Now I'm knee deep. That's awesome. You were working at a comic shop at the height of Walking Dead mania, weren't you?
Oh yeah, it was crazy, dude.
How was that? Every week you'd get trades in, and I would imagine they fly off the shelves, right?
Walking Dead did it the way that Marvel should be doing it with the movies, where it follows the story. Well, it's hard. I understand you can't follow exactly the comic books because there's so much. But that was the thing about Walking Dead, that it brought in readers. It brought in fans to comic book stores because the story was familiar enough, but yet different, where you can read the comics, understand what's going on, and get something new out of it. Or vice versa, for those of us that was really into the comics, you can watch the show. It was familiar enough for you to like it, but it was different enough where you're like, oh, I want to see what happens next. I'm not sure exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So yes, there was times where I remember we would order, I want to say there was maybe like 10 trades out at the time, maybe more. But I remember we had stacks on the counter, like fat stacks, maybe like 20 to 30 copies each. And people would just come in and be like, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They would buy one of each. or they would buy one and then come back like literally like that day or the next day and get 2 and 3 and 4. Like people got hooked on that book. Everybody who was a fan of the show came in. That's like the only time I've ever seen that happen where something media caused an influx in the comic book stores.
Yeah. Well, it was Walking Dead from the jump was almost must-see TV. When it premiered, I was in college at the time, and it would be that Sunday thing where my college roommates and we would get together and we would watch the first episode, the first season of Walking Dead, and say what you want about the later seasons. It had its highs and lows. I heard towards the end it got really good again. But that first episode, that pilot episode, directed by Frank Darabont, is so good. It's a mini movie. You can watch that and you can be perfectly fine. But the pacing of it is very well done. It's very deliberate, but it's such a well-made pilot. I mean, it literally begins with your main character shooting a zombie girl, probably a 10-year-old, straight in the dome. That is setting the tone of like, okay, you are in this or you are not in this series at all. And it kicks off really well.
When did you fall off the show?
Okay, so kind of the stereotypical thing. I think this is where a lot of people fell off. It was the Glenn. Spoilers for Walking Dead. It's this particular episode's like got to be close to 10 years old now, I think. It was the one where they kill Glenn, where they do the 1-2 punch of killing Glenn and Abraham. And I fell off not because of the shock value, because I read the comics and I'm like, okay, well, it's obviously going to be Glenn and they killed Abraham. That didn't bother me. It was more, I started to feel the writing was kind of almost insulting the audience of like, well, we teased Glenn was dying under the dumpster, but he didn't die. So now it felt lazy. It felt dumb, lazy. And I was just like, all right, I think I'm off this series. I've been trying to watch it for a while now, and it just did not hit the same heights as the comic for me in terms of writing. But that show, as a show, Walking Dead has always had problems behind the scenes. There was the whole thing with Frank Darabont, and then Frank Darabont came in. He finished the first season. He started the second season, but then him and Kirkman had a fallout about halfway through the second season, and then they brought somebody else, and then they had to bring in, I forgot what the other guy's name is. I think it was like Glenn something, for a couple seasons, and that was steady, and then he fell away. That show has always been kind of a mess behind the scenes. They've got a movie coming out now that apparently is going to be really good, though.
They got like 3 spinoffs or something like that, right? There's Fear of the Walking Dead, and I think there's like at least one more.
Yeah, and for a while there, I heard Fear of the Walking Dead was actually the much better show. They have that. They have the new spinoff show, which is just about Daryl Dixon, and he's in, I think, New York, if I'm not mistaken. New York. I want to say it's New York.
He's still with Carol, too. Isn't it called like Dixon and Carol or something?
I don't know if she's in it. But I've heard this last season with Daryl in New York is actually really good, that it goes back to form. And they've got now with one with Negan and what's his name? Glenn's wife. I forgot her name now. Maggie. Negan and Maggie, I think, have a spinoff show too, and I've heard that's not bad either. So
that's interesting because I mean, we know what happens to Maggie in the comics.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think I fell off the show, and I think I fell off the comic about the same time. It was before the Glenn death. It was that season before. There was a moment with the town, the governor stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because at that point, it was just like that, and the comic book was just so formulaic, especially the TV show, because it'd be like, all right, nothing's going to happen. 4 episodes in, boom, zombie attack. Oh, now it's cool. Now everybody wants to see it again. This is it. And then nothing would happen. Boom, zombie attack. They had to move to another town or something like that. And that's exactly what the comics were doing at the time with the but that stuff that was happening like in the 120s or something like.
Yeah, I think that is a case of it just went on way too long. I still think I've said this before, the first 48 issues of Walking Dead I think are amazing. They are peak comics. They're so good. And when you get into issue 48, Kirkman kind of pulls a Stephen King, where the cast is so huge that Stephen King did this in The Stand, where you get about halfway through The Stand that he had trouble writing it. So in the middle of writing the book, he's like, well, why don't I just fucking kill these characters off? And that's what he did in The Stand. Half of the characters in The Stand, about halfway through that book, get wiped out. So Kirkman kind of does the same thing about it in issue 48, where, all right, a lot of your favorite characters are gone now in a brutal way too.
Yeah. Oh, that prison breakout was like the coolest thing about that book.
Yeah.
I love that. That was like, whoa. Like that was that was peak, like you said. I think that was peak stuff at that point.
Yeah.
I think me and you said it before. The book could have just ended there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it would have just been like a perfect series, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think so. We're far away enough from it that I have read the final issue. I've read the majority of Walking Dead. I think I got all the way up to the 120s, and then I started falling off again.
Yeah.
And then I just picked up the last issue. But I pretty much know what happens. And I don't think it ends bad. I remember at the time when the final issue dropped, it was a big thing because Kirkman didn't even make a splash about it. Or he didn't make an announcement or anything like that. It was leaked that it was the final issue that was coming out.
Nobody knew until the book came out because I forget what book number it was. I'm going to say like 145.
Yeah.
But Kirkman had already solicited 3 more issues beyond that. With covers and everything. Like he did it to just kind of, not make it obvious that this was the last issue. He didn't want to make a big issue out of it. He didn't want it to be like, here's the last issue, and I'm gonna put like 30 covers on it, and everybody needs to buy it and stuff like that, right? Which is a baller move because anybody else would have done that. Anybody else would have been like, this is the last issue, so and so, this and that. It would have been like before. It'd be like, here's the last arc or whatever,
Yeah.
And just baller move, just ended it, walked away. That's it, done and over with. Who cares?
Yeah.
He did it. It was done. Now I'm the same with you. It was after the arc with the cannibals that they ran into.
Yeah.
I think that's about the point where I was like, all right, I'm kind of done with this. Like,
yeah. I came back for 100. I read up to that point, and then I read a lot of the Negan stuff. I read the War. I was like, that's really good, and then I fell off again, and I think I'm in the same boat as NFL dude. Around the time they started doing the alpha stuff, that's when I fell off, and then I was like, well, it's the final issue. I've got to read the final issue of Walking Dead, right? I got to see how this wraps up. Overall, I didn't hate the ending. I thought it was a pretty solid ending altogether. It ties up the story really well. It's not like, oh, we have a cure for the zombie virus now. No, it's still a very big threat, but the ending of Walking Dead is basically Rick's dream comes to fruition, where they have a stable society. Carl has a family with kids, and things are looking pretty good for him. Overall, I think it's a solid ending. He kind of does that 6 feet under ending where he just skips ahead, and you get, okay, this is where they are now, 20 plus years later. Certain characters are in good places. A lot of characters are not in good places. But I dig it overall. I
wouldn't mind going back and finishing up that series one day, but I probably won't. I think
it's a quick read.
The first 45, the first like 50 issues is top notch stuff.
Yeah, it was must read comics. It was an unspoken rule: don't spoil The Walking Dead. Don't spoil the comics at all. Right?
La, 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 la.
It was an unspoken rule for a while.
There was some respect. You would go to the comic book store and be like, did you read Walking Dead yet? Did you read Walking Dead? Like, you would check everybody around you and be like, all right, we can talk about it. Holy crap, what happened with that?
Yeah. And credit where credit is due. A lot of characters in Walking Dead die pretty unceremoniously. And I remember Kirkman getting a lot of shit for it, but his reasoning was, hey, in real life, sometimes people unfortunately just die. They don't get their grand moment, and things happen. And that was the situation with several characters in The Walking Dead. I think the death that hit me the hardest was again, we're just full on spoilers for Walking Dead at this point, but it's such an old comic. The death that hit me the most was Tyrese, where he's on his knees and the governor's got him, and he just cuts his throat right there in front of everybody.
Yeah. I remember it was the twins in the prison.
Ooh, that was rough.
Yeah,
that one was rough. Yeah, the serial killer.
Mm-hmm. Someone in this prison's a killer. We don't know what's going on. Like, and we're trapped in here with this person.
Man, that was good stuff.
Yeah,
I miss it. I wonder if we'll ever get something like that again. Something along the lines of Walking Dead.
Yeah, I think Deadpool 3 is the only movie to really watch this year in terms of like superhero stuff.
I don't think there's anything else I'm super jumping.
Marvel's not putting anything else out.
The Spider-Verse movie is not coming out this year. That's gonna get put. I think it was originally supposed to come out this year, but there was that writer's strike, and then they were still working on it. It's been a whole mess. So I don't think that's coming out this year. So yeah, I think Deadpool 3 is the movie to see this year as far as superheroes.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Echo came out.
We need to watch that. We're doing the pilot.
So on Patreon on this Saturday for our Patreon, me and Lou are going to do a watch along. We're going to just get all of our patrons who can make it that day on Saturday night, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and we're just going to do a thing like this. And I'm going to screen share Disney Plus, and we're going to watch the first episode of Echo together.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard some good things. I haven't heard. I remember when people were like, "Oh my god, this show is going to be horrible."
Like they put out all 9. They're going to put out all 9 episodes at once. That must mean it's shit.
Yeah, I've heard it's not bad so far.
And then it turned around, and everyone's saying like it's pretty good. And they're really pumping like Daredevil being in it, and obviously Kingpin's in it. So
yeah, they're saying that the Netflix stuff is now canon apparently. So
yeah, I saw that this morning.
All that stuff is tied in now. Well, man, I hope they get some of those actors back then, because
I hope they don't get that Iron Fist actor back.
No, fuck him. He no. I remember reading that jackass didn't want to do the martial arts scenes. I'm like, you're what? He didn't want to train for the martial arts stuff.
I heard they only gave him like a week to train or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know, but either way, that was like the worst. That was the worst. The rest of that show was fairly okay, but like the kung fu and like the fighting was like this is bad, dude. It was
not good. Here's the thing: they can easily do a Power Man and Iron Fist series, and that should be a blast. That should be a license to print money. Power Man and Iron Fist should basically just be a Lethal Weapon, Shane Black TV show.
Yeah,
and just go for it and make it a fun show, because they're heroes for hire, right? That's what they are. You make it a crime, you make it a buddy cop story, basically. The only difference is your cops are a almost 7-foot tall black guy with impenetrable skin, and the other guy is a living weapon that can turn his hands on fire.
And they did a Defenders together, right? Or they put everything together and they did the Defenders. And the Iron Fist actor and the Luke Cage actor had like no chemistry. Like they just did not click. They did not mesh at all very well.
It's a shame, man. Bring back Mike Coulter, because Mike Coulter was actually a really good Luke Cage.
Dude, he was awesome, Luke Cage.
Yeah,
make him Kane.
Dude, he's still jacked as fuck, man.
Yeah.
The only thing is he's doing a show on Paramount or Peacock. I think it's Peacock, called Evil. And it's really good. It's a really good horror streaming show. So I don't know what his schedule would be like, but I hope they bring him back.
That was the thing about the show too here. The writing on that was pretty bad for a while too. But they were like, is he really Danny Rand? They're saying he's Danny Rand. He says he's Danny Rand. He says he's Danny. And they proved like in the first episode that he's Danny Rand.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the show, they're still like, is he really the Danny Rand? Like, we're not sure. Like come on, dude. Like, get over that already. Like, that was the whole first season.
Yeah, that Netflix Marvel stuff, it has its highs, and when it's high, it's really great stuff. But when it's low,
Daredevil is so awesome. That thing is incredible.
I think all 3 seasons of Daredevil are fantastic.
I don't have a problem with anything in any of those seasons. I think I love everything about those 3 seasons of Daredevil.
Yeah, I think all 3 seasons of Daredevil are fantastic. If you haven't seen them, go back. Please go back and watch them because they're so good.
You probably should anyway, just to get ready for Born Again or whatever. But man, that's a good show.
The 2 seasons of Luke Cage. Season 1 is great until they kill the main villain halfway through season 1. Like, what the fuck?
And you get some random like Diamondback guy. You're like, come on, dude. Like,
yeah, Cottonmouth by Mahershala Ali.
Yeah,
great villain. He's fantastic in it. And then they kill him.
And he's gonna be Blade now.
Yeah,
hopefully. As much as that show's been like stop go, changing directors, changing writers, like they lost him for a little bit. Like he was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore.
Yeah, that was a big issue. So it was so about 1.5 seasons of Luke Cage is great because I really loved the second season. And I think I forgot the villain's name in the second season. Oh my god, what's his name? What's the name for the whatever? The second season is much stronger than the first season. Jessica Jones, to me, has my favorite first season with the Purple Man.
Yeah, I liked it, but I was just really hoping it was going to be a Purple Man like they did in Alias, where he was more of a scumbag. Like he was super, super scumbaggy.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit in the Netflix show, but he's a piece of shit times 10 in the comic book.
He's an annoying douche in the show. In the comic, he is just the most manipulative, evil bastard to what's her face, Jessica Jones. Just terrible.
Yeah, there was a really cool period of time back and when those comics were coming out where you had that Jessica Jones series, you had Bendis writing Daredevil. Was that around the time that Luke Cage was he leading the Thunderbolts at that time?
He might have been. No, he was leading the Thunderbolts, I think, after he had a kid with Jessica.
Okay.
So with Luke Cage here, this is when he was in the New Avengers, I think, and he had a heart attack. And they were like, we don't know what to do because you can't get through his bulletproof skin.
Okay. Yeah, that was a really great time of comics because just that Jessica Jones stuff, and then Bendis was writing Daredevil, and sometimes they would kind of cross over a little bit and things like that. And it was really fun to see when Jessica Jones would pop up in the Daredevil series and she'd be talking to Matt Murdock and then vice versa.
Like, quit being an asshole, Matt. We know what you're doing.
You
can't be the kingpin of crime.
Oh my God. One of my favorite comic book moments of all time is
when they give him an intervention in the park, basically.
Oh my God, it's so good. So in Bendis' Daredevil run, Daredevil, he ends up roping up Kingpin, attaching him to the hood of a car, and then driving Kingpin with the car through a hideout of a bunch of goons. Then he stands on the hood of the car and he goes, basically, you see this fat piece of crap that's on the car? I'm the Kingpin of Hell's Kitchen now. Anybody who's still here by X time or whatever will have to deal with me. Get out.
Yeah.
That is then preceded by one of the worst wars on crime that has ever been seen in Hell's Kitchen. It got so bad. Peter Parker, Luke Cage, and I think Doctor Strange catch up with Matt Murdock in a park and go, dude, you need to tone it the fuck down, okay? Oh, I loved it. Oh my God.
And he's like, I know what I'm doing. And they're like, no, you don't. You're a psycho, Matt. You need help. And then they did it all over again and called it Shadowland, and it was awful.
It was terrible. Yeah, it was terrible. But the thing is with that run is you think Bendis kicked him on the ground enough. And then Brubaker just comes along and goes, nah, I'm going to bury him 6 feet under, basically, with just guilt and depression. Jesus.
Well, Bendis is also like, here you go, Ed Brubaker. Here's Daredevil. By the way, he's trapped in jail right now. So, pick it up from here.
He's trapped in jail. His identity's been revealed. Have fun.
Yeah.
How do you put the genie back in the bottle?
Oh, I love that breakout, how he breaks out and stuff.
Where's Frank Castle? Oh, he's in his cell. He's just reading.
Yeah. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. Everybody's breaking out of prison, and Frank Castle's in there. I forgot for what. And it's just there's a panel that just cuts to him reading in his cell, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff, man. Jeez.
Dude, that whole volume 2 of Daredevil is peak, dude. I love all of that, from most of it. But basically everything from, I'm talking about like when Kevin Smith does it.
Yeah.
Joe Quesada does it with David Mack.
Yep.
Now there's another guy in between there that does like a short arc. I forgot. David Mack and Joe Quesada. And then Bendis goes on forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brubaker. And Andy Diggle stuff is really good until like the Shadowland stuff started falling apart.
Yeah. But then after Shadowland, we get Mark Waid's run, which is great stuff. It's really interesting because Daredevil is considered, what would you think, like a B-list, A-list? Not a B-list. Not A-list, right? No.
Yeah, B or C maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of considered a B-list character, but he's had some of the greatest runs in comic book history and some of the most defining runs in comic book history. I mean,
and consistently great runs.
Yes. Yeah.
Consistently great runs.
Yeah, I mean, you can follow almost a pattern from the 90s all the way into, 2008? I think is when Shadowland was, 2009, something like that. Might have been a little bit more than that. And it's all great stuff. I always tell people, if you want to start reading Daredevil, start with the Frank Miller stuff. The thing is that Frank Miller did not start writing Daredevil. He started out as an artist, and then he hopped on in the writer's chair. And once he started really writing him, that book became fucking badass. It became a legendary book. And then after that, you kind of had a few things, but then I always tell people, after that, you could jump into the Kevin Smith stuff. You'll be perfectly fine. And that'll pretty much carry you. There's a few things here and there. That'll pretty much carry you up to the Bendis era, which is where Marvel at the time was just about to declare bankruptcy, if I'm not mistaken. And then Quesada stepped in and he goes, well, we're going to do this whole thing called the Marvel Knights line, right? That was
after the bankruptcy.
That was after the bankruptcy.
That was way after, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm truncating a lot of history here, folks. And I'm running on 2 hours of sleep. So I might have gotten some details wrong. But basically, the whole Marvel Knights line kicked off. And that first run of Daredevil, that wasn't Bendis, right? There was
the Marvel Knights stuff was Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith and Quesada.
Right.
Yes. And that was their whole thing, where they wanted to really reinvigorate Marvel with a lot of talent and really bring in kind of a darker tone to some of these characters. And then eventually you get Brian Michael Bendis, who puts out an amazing run with Alex Maleev, a career-defining run. And Brian Michael Bendis at the time was no slouch. He was just coming off of the indie scene.
Yeah, was he doing? I think he might have been doing. Was he doing Ultimate Spider-Man already?
I don't think so. I think Ultimate Spider-Man came a little bit later.
I have to double check because I know because before he did Marvel, he was doing Sam and Twitch.
Wait, no, you might be right. No, I think you're right. Ultimate Spider-Man was what, 2001?
Let me see.
2000?
Let me research. It was definitely 2001.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And the new Ultimate Spider-Man came out today. I got to pick that up. Come on. Third series, Jesus. What the fuck? 2000.
Okay.
So October 2000 when it was published, issue 1.
That is a $438 book, CGC 9.8. Wow.
CGC 9.8, yeah. And then let's see about Daredevil.
Look how horrible that cover is. I fucking hate that cover, dude.
What?
I hate that cover. I think the computer cover looks terrible.
Yeah, I mean that's what something they were doing to kind of stand out the Ultimate line, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have it here? I thought I had it on my spinner rack. No. Yeah, because all the covers are like that too. They get a little bit better. They kind of get because they were dipping their toes in the like digital coloring at the time. Like this one here. Yeah, it's a different set of looks for it for sure. They had that glossy cardstock covers too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I get there volume 2 to pull up. When did that come out? So I'm pretty sure he was doing Ultimate Spider-Man first.
I think you're absolutely right. 2022. There's a lot of Daredevil.
One.
I think, but it was pretty close around that time because
yeah, but there was a time when Bendis was like doing like 4 or 5 books, and he was like the guy in Marvel for the longest time. So 1998 started.
I've never read his Avengers run.
Which one?
The Bendis. I've never read any of his Avengers stuff.
The one, so not the stuff where he has Daredevil and Spider-Man and Wolverine on the team?
I never read any of Bendis' not Daredevil, Avengers run.
See, because Bendis starts at like issue 25 or 35.
Right. He wraps up the guy's previous stuff, and then he jumps in.
26. He jumps on December of 2001.
Oh, so it was that 1-2 punch almost of Spider-Man and Daredevil. Jesus.
And he was doing Powers at the time too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah. So he still had his foot in the indie scene. And these were like my favorite books, dude. Oh man, this was the stuff.
I could never get into Powers. I've tried. I've read the first 2 trades and it just did not grab me.
April 2000. So he was doing this, and then Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, that
and then Daredevil.
Who Killed Retro Girl was a really good first volume, but I just couldn't get into it after that.
No, I love like this first season or like volume, like the first 30. I think it's 32 issues.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it, dude. I loved it when it was coming out. Like everything about it was like, it's so edgy, and there's like, look at the dialogue that he does, and there's monkeys fucking having sex in this book. 35 maybe, 36, 37 issues. Okay. Yeah, I really like this. That first volume, that first 37 is great.
Is he? Man. He's not writing it, right? It seems like every once in a while he comes back and he writes a few issues of it, and then.
Yeah, it's been weird, dude. I haven't read it, but it just doesn't look like the same anymore. Like, I don't know. It went nowhere. There was a show. They made a show of this on PlayStation Network at one point, and it was
it
was disappointing.
I remember that. Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely horrible.
Yeah, see, NFL dude knows what's up. Powers and 100 Bullets. Yeah. I read 100 Bullets again not too long ago. It's still a good series.
You were talking about that. You were talking that up.
I was on it for a while, dude. 100 issues. It took a minute.
That has my favorite one-shot issue of all time. I love that.
Issue 27. Issue 27, man.
That's it. That is the one. If you have to read, homework kids. If you have to read one issue of 100 Bullets, which Gabe swears by the whole series, I couldn't get into it, but that's just me. Issue 27 is one of the most brilliant one-shot issues I've ever read in a comic book. The way they tie in the concept of what the 100 Bullets is with a true historical event is brilliant. Azzarello was on fire for that particular issue.
There was a point where it was Azzarello, Bendis, and Brubaker, and I want to say Greg Rucka, I think at the time too. They were like your star crime book like writers.
Yeah. Well, Brubaker at the time, he was he doing Criminals at the same time that he was doing with Rucka, Gotham City PD or whatever it was.
Gotham Central.
Gotham Central. Jesus, yeah, I'm really tired tonight, guys. Was that around the same time where he was doing Gotham Central?
Probably.
Which Gotham Central was so good because you had, as a concept, again, we're giving you a lot of gold tonight. If you guys have never read any of this stuff,
2003 was Gotham Central.
If you have never read Gotham Central, it is centering around a group of cops that work in the Gotham City Police Department, and you had Ed Brubaker that would write. He was either the day shift or the night shift. And then you would have Greg Rucka that he would write the opposite of whatever the other person was writing. So one would write the day shift, one would write the night shift. And eventually they flipped. And you would see characters that would pop up in the day shift issues, pop up in the night shift sometimes, and then he'd hand stuff off to other characters. It was really, really well written.
There's next to no Batman in it, too.
No, but it's
so if you're looking for like Batman working alongside the cops, you're not going to find that here. Like he pops up, the same. It's Batman through the view of the cops a lot of times, where it's like he kind of just pops up somewhere where he's not supposed to be, like at a crime scene or things like that. Like they rarely interact with them. He's rarely in it. There's a beautiful, crazy Joker arc in here when he like has with the sniper stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And just read the first issue, everybody. If you go, this is interesting, I'm not sure. Read the first issue because something happens at the end of the first issue that if it doesn't snag you in and tie you in and want to read the rest of it, then don't worry about it. But give that first issue a shot. But don't pay $22 for it.
No, there was
maybe
an
it's on DC Unlimited or something.
There was an omnibus out a few years ago. It went out of print and it came back. I don't know what the status is of the current omnibus, but it's well worth your time to pick up that book.
Let me see if it's on in stock. I don't want the omnibus though, because that thing is huge.
It was a long run.
It was like 70 issues, which I was surprised with. The omnibus is still in stock at In Stock Trades. $58.
That's a hell of a deal. That is a good deal for that book. But it's a big boy. It is a big omnibus.
Yeah, it's a lot of. So if you're one of those guys that love big omnis and you're looking for something good to read, you haven't like something new, then check out Gotham Central.
Yeah, it's what Gotham should have been. I remember the hype surrounding that show when it was first coming out. It was like, oh wow, this might be Gotham Central. Not even close to what Gotham Central is. There it is. That's a good deal.
It's almost 1,000 pages.
That is a really good price from our sponsor In Stock Trades. $57 for some of the best crime comics you're going to get set in the DC universe is a hell of a price.
Okay, it was 40 issues. I thought it was longer, but still 40 issues for something like that. That's an achievement, I think.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. And this was Brubaker when he was first starting to break way. I think he had Criminal under his belt already. Maybe a volume or two under there, but he wasn't the it guy at the time.
What was it that made Brubaker like a name? I forget. Was it Criminal?
I think it was a mixture of Criminal and his Daredevil stuff.
Because Criminal is 2006.
Yeah. Well, Brubaker is kind of an interesting thing because he does Daredevil, and then he's also got his indie crime stuff, and then he does arguably, I don't even think it's arguably, the greatest Captain America run of all time on the character.
Oh, that's easy to say, sure.
Yeah.
Trying to find his bibliography here.
That was around the time of Civil War, because I remember they eventually tie that stuff in. I wasn't crazy about the tie-in, but his Captain America run is, a lot of people say, well, what should I read of Captain America? I'm like, there's not, for some, I don't know. Captain America's always been like, but his run on Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America defined a generation, defined that character for a generation.
Maybe the scene of the crime.
He also was the guy that there was the golden rule at the time where you don't bring back Uncle Ben, you don't bring back Bucky. Ed Brubaker said, "I'm not only going to bring back Bucky, I'm going to make him a badass Russian assassin."
All right, I think it was the scene of the crime book that got him into maybe Batman, and then I think Batman's what got him into like Daredevil.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Catwoman run. Oh, that was 2002, right?
Yeah, that was with Darwin Cook.
So that was, yeah.
One of my favorite moments of all time in a movie theater was I was watching Winter Soldier, and the reveal happens that Bucky is the Winter Soldier, and there's this big Hispanic dude that's sitting in the front of the theater going, "Bucky, holy shit!" Like he was blown away. I busted out laughing. I'm like, well, it was a big reveal to this guy.
That's awesome. Oh, Sleeper. Yeah, Sleeper was a great one. I think that's when I first met him, or was introduced to him.
Sleeper has such a fucked up ending. It's so good.
The whole book is messed up, man.
Yeah.
Is that still in stock trades? Is that still available?
I love Sleeper.
Dude, I had that omnibus when it first came out, and then I sold it, and then they announced the reprint of it like the next day or a couple days later.
You cashed out really well on that one.
Yeah, I seem to have a gift sometimes.
Yeah, you luck out more often than not on that stuff.
Sleeper, the new 2022 edition, still in stock, $58.
That's good. That's good stuff. So, question for you, because you tend to follow prices and speculation and stuff like that more than most of us do. Anything that we should kind of be maybe kind of keeping an eye out for, as far as like maybe you should grab these key issues or something like that? Because I would think most of the comic book stuff is kind of down now because Marvel has just been in a rut. Anything in particular we should be?
Well, in general, prices have started to go back pre-COVID for the most part. Like it's tanked a lot. So it's a good time if you are interested in any kind of keys. Now is a pretty good time to get it because it's probably going to be. It might still dip a little bit more, but you're not losing like 65%. Like people who bought it like in the height of COVID are going through these days.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I did this a while ago when James Gunn was first announced that they were going to do like a whole new like universe of movies. Lobo stuff I think is still really good to get, and Blackest Night, Green Lantern stuff. These are things that I've been like. I bought like the whole run of Green Lantern, and then a couple extra copies of like harder to find like variants or harder to find first appearances of like the Red Lanterns, Orange Lantern, like all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That's some stuff I've been looking at. But I think DC comics are always really weak in for pricing. They're always cheaper than Marvel stuff. So I think DC stuff's really good to get that stuff now. Because once James Gunn stuff starts coming out and he starts making announcements, like already, like the first appearance of Mr. Terrific blew up. Metamorpho was always kind of a harder book to get anyways, but it's getting more attention now because of that. Lobo blew up a little bit. So a lot of the DC keys are always overlooked. Booster Gold, what does I have it here? Guy Gardner. So things like that, like the stuff that James Gunn's already talked about. So good stuff for that. Yeah. NFL dude knows what's up. Kyle Rayner's first appearance is super cheap. I think I got a 9.8 of that for like $80, maybe.
Wow. Wow. I think we're kind of in a wait and see approach. Marvel has taken its turn, and now we're going to see what James Gunn does. I think overall there's more of a sense of excitement for the stuff that James Gunn is going to do versus the future of Marvel at the
Yeah.
time. It feels fresh. It feels exciting so far, I think. And James Gunn's track record kind of speaks for itself. So I have my fingers crossed that the Avengers-wide event for the DC Universe is Blackest Night. God, I would absolutely love it if it was Blackest Night.
I would too. That would be. It's dumb that we haven't gotten that yet in anything. They even that Green Lantern animated series, which is awesome, but only got one season, and they were kind of inching towards like Blackest Night. So like Marvel stuff, because there's no movies coming out. A lot of that stuff is really good to get these days. X-Men, Fantastic Four keys, they're still pretty good, but it's up until they start making announcements. Once they start making announcements, then it's all hell is going to break loose.
Yeah. Well, 2025.
And I'm crossing, you were talking about like a fresh start. I'm crossing my fingers. Fantastic Four and X-Men is like a new start for the MCU.
Well, the X-Men, I think Kevin Feige has said the X-Men are his favorite comics. So I would hope that since they are his favorite, he's going to be more, fuck all this. I really want to get this X-Men shit right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm hoping that with Fantastic Four, but like if they make Silver Surfer a girl, like the rumors are, I'm out, dude. I'm out.
I think I would love for them to build up the X-Men kind of piecemeal, where maybe you get a Cyclops movie, or kind of what they did with the Phase 1 stuff in the MCU, where we got single movies of certain characters, and then they bring them in.
Okay.
They probably won't do that. I don't think it makes that much sense. Obviously, you do a Wolverine movie because, hey, you got to do a Wolverine movie because it's Marvel.
If they still have Hugh Jackman, yeah.
I think this might be it. Well, then again, I said the same thing for Logan, but he's back for Deadpool 3, so who knows? That check might be big enough that he could start eating those chicken and trenbolone sandwiches and
getting up like at 2:00 in the morning just to have like a protein shake.
Hey, he's recently divorced, so maybe there's a lot of motivation there for him to like, fuck this.
He's at the time. He's got more time to do it. Yeah.
Let's start cashing those Marvel. Let's start cashing those Marvel checks, right?
Oh well, now that makes sense. She took 50% of that Deadpool 3 money already.
Start cashing the Marvel checks. Start taking those trenbolone sandwiches and chicken and broccoli, right?
Trenbolone. Get on that TRT. He's on TRT.
Oh fuck yeah, he is. Absolutely.
And that's not a bad thing. Like, like when you start aging out, like it's better to get on TRT than not to get on TRT.
Look at the dude. We both love Reacher. Look at the motherfucker from Reacher. He's 40 years old and he's built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
He even came out. He said he's on TRT.
Yeah, he's admitted he's on TRT.
He's like, I had to like for my job. Like I had to, but he was the one that was like, it's better to be on it than not on it when you get like a certain age and stuff.
Yeah. Did you watch?
He got hurt on Reacher season 1.
Yeah.
And they put I forgot what it's called, but it's like apparently it's like a giant pad of like ibuprofen. Like these giant pads of like ibuprofen where he got hurt.
Yeah.
And apparently ibuprofen drops your testosterone level.
Oh shit.
So he went down to like almost nothing apparently.
Wow, I didn't know that. Jesus.
So I don't know if that was the catalyst to get on TRT, but yeah. So
that dude is built like a brick shit house.
Oh yeah, if you want to look like that, there's no way. Like you see how Hugh Jackman looked in Days of Future Past. Like that was like he was at his rippest. Like he was on TRT back then or something.
Yeah. No. And what's his name? The dude from Reacher is like 40 years old. Everybody wants him as Batman. Fuck, I want him as Batman. I think he'd be great. I mean, there's a scene in Reacher season 2 where he's wearing a suit, and I'm like, that's fucking Bruce Wayne. He's right there. He wants to do it. He's a solid actor. Give it to him.
He's a good actor. He's a good-looking guy. He can kick ass.
He's the perfect age if you want to do the Damien story.
Yeah, he's built like he's intimidatingly big. Like he's a built dude. You don't see that in any of these other. You kind of got it a little bit, maybe Ben Affleck Batman, but we didn't get enough Ben Affleck Batman to really matter, right? But like this guy is like, and because I don't think any of these Batmans have looked intimidating. I mean, the costume makes you a little intimidating, but he's a monster, dude. He's a little bit bigger than I am. He's like 6'3", I think he's like 250, 260.
Did you watch the Michael Rosenbaum interview inside of where he was?
A little bit of it, yeah. That's where all that stuff I heard from. Yeah,
yeah. He said in the interview he's at 245 for Reacher, but he drops the weight in between seasons because it's too much for him to carry. It's too strenuous.
Because he has to knock down 4,000 calories a day.
Yeah, it's way too much for him apparently. So he's a big dude, man. I think he'd be great.
I'm 6'2" and 240, so I get it.
I think he'd be great as Batman, dude.
Yeah. He already played Hawk. I don't know how well that did or anything, but he deserves like a bigger character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Batman, like definitely.
So who knows, man? Who knows what we're gonna get? It's nothing against Robert Pattinson's Batman because I really enjoyed the Batman. I think it's a great movie. I think he's a solid interpretation of the character. But if you want a Batman that is intimidating, where that motherfucker pulls up and everybody just goes, "Oh shit," I think that's kind of the size that you need. Yeah,
again, the other guy's just an intimidating presence, like of how big he is. You know, what's his name?
I think Capullo described it the best for me. That when he draws Batman, he draws him not necessarily cut, but just as a guy that's a huge slab of meat. It's just big as fuck.
Yeah. Batman's not trying to get on stage or be competitive, like body wise. Like, look at this dude.
That's all natural. Chicken and broccoli, right? Or chicken and rice.
This guy's swole, dude.
Yeah, he's fucking huge. It's crazy.
There you go.
Not only that, Reacher is a very fun show. If you haven't watched it, it's a really genuinely good show. I need to catch up.
I like the Tom Cruise Reacher movies. I thought those were really good too. I didn't realize the guy was supposed to be like 6'5", 300 pounds of just military muscle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. All right, Gabe. I'm ready to kind of call it for the night. It's been a long day. Why don't you tell them one more time where they can find some great comics and graphic novels?
There's only one place where you can find the best deals for your graphic novels, everybody. Omnibuses, trade paperbacks, collected editions, even mangas. You want to go to instocktrades.com. That's right, everybody. Instocktrades.com. We showed you it earlier. Up to 42% off, but we showed you stuff that was 50% off. There's stuff on there that's 80% off. You're going to find the best, greatest deals on instocktrades.com, where if you make an order of $50 or more, you get free shipping. And after you make one order, you get an extra 2% off your very next order. So make one order of $50 or more for that free shipping. Make another order right after that and get an extra 2% off. They give us a $50 gift card that we give away on the last Monday show of every month, and that's open to everybody. So make sure you join us live on the last Monday of the month to see if you win that In Stock Trades gift card. Awesome packaging, awesome customer service, everybody. InStockTrades.com, the #1 spot to get all your collected editions. Don't be paying full cover price.
Damn right.
Be smart with your money. It's tight out there, everybody. Inflation, whatever else you want to call. Be smart with your money. Go to In-Stock Trades. Boom.
Yeah. We were talking about that on the Patreon show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Things are just getting weird. Things are just, just in general, as far as prices and everything like that. But that's neither here nor there. That's not why you guys come here. We'll save that for the Patreon stuff. So yeah, Patreon show.
Patreon this Saturday. We're doing extra stuff on that Patreon now.
Yeah, this year we're really trying to blow up the Patreon a little bit more. So Gabe and I have agreed that we're going to try to incorporate more cooler stuff on it. So
like this Saturday, we'll be watching the first episode of Echo together. So If you're not on Patreon already, it's in our link below. Patreon.com, Omnibroslive. $5 a month is like the second tier you can pay for. The first tier is just $1 if you want to just kind of support stuff. Or you can give us there's a tip jar where you can just don't make donations and everything like that. But $5 a month gets you at least once a month. We're gonna do it a lot more.
Yeah.
But we're always on schedule for once a month where we do a live hangout like this. Well, you're on the screen here, like the same way we are. It's not broadcasted live or anything like that. We just kind of hang out. It gets recorded and posted to Patreon. So only Patreon people can get it. So, I mean, we got guys on there who, we all get a little drunk sometimes, a little bit of whatever else sometimes. We talk about stuff that we can't talk about here on the show. It's more about connecting with people and talking about lives and getting to know you guys getting to know us. So if you want to support that, cool. This Saturday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be watching that Echo show, the first episode. We'll have a discussion, stuff like that. So hang out there.
Yeah, if you enjoy the show, there's literally hours and hours of content that Gabe and I have done through, I think Patreon's been up for close to 3 years now. So there's a lot of stuff that's on that Patreon for $5. It's well worth your time.
And again, if we talk about stuff we don't talk about here, like the last one, I went on about.
It was great.
About comic book stores closing down.
Yeah.
The manipulation of sales numbers that we've been getting, where they're saying sales numbers are up, and that's only really because they're incorporating manga sales and youth books into sales.
Yep.
So stuff like that. So we really get into some topics and some fun stuff.
Yeah. So guys, with that said, I wish everybody a good night. I'm going to pass out in a few minutes because it's been a long day. So thank you all for joining us. Tune in for the manga guys. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we will be back on Monday for the traditional Monday show, which is just hauls, reads, and previews. So take a look. Stick with us. Love you guys.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go. I ain't got time to be distracted by your worthless chime-ins. Go on.
I didn't know you had that. That's